For the low-income housing committee, whatever, those decisions, those appointments were made by our city council at our last meeting, which will be Jeffrey Bradshaw and myself. Right. And we're anxious to see that committee move forward. Our planning department seems anxious to get the annexation policy thing approved. We've got some 28 items on our agenda for next Thursday. And many of those are the slope and some of those things that we needed to do to be consistent with the lands the way you've planned them. You're good planning people. So those are on, and included as the last item to approve the annexation policy plan. I'm going to resist that. I hope I get enough votes not to move forward until we've done our low-income housing thing, so that we don't get an annexation trying to get around that. Because we do want to,
I think that's essential.
From my point of view at least, I think we want to cooperate with our share of that and Hope Midway, and so I'm anxious to see that meeting start and get that moving, because I know they'll be pushing, but I'd like to get that process done and hopefully we can buy into it as a city. I explained it when I asked for the appointments on your behalf that we were being involved not as a member of the Low-Income Housing Board, but as representatives of our cities and the county, so that we hopefully have the buy-in that we want to have this move forward. So those are the two appointments. We were near completion. I think it'll move forward. We had a 5-hour airport board meeting, handled a lot of things about our airport, but just to alert you, it's being revised. It'll probably, there was no real issues except wording and fixing, but so it'll be handled at our next meeting. But we're going to give Wasatch County a position by your designation as county council for a council person or staff to be on our airport board. They'll be appointed by you. We already have had and will continue to have an appointment by Daniels Town, and that's because anytime there's a likely influence of our airport on another public entity, another public body like Daniels, they should have a seat at the table, and I saw to that about a year ago. But there'll be two appointments the city won't make, and that's Daniel and yours.
So we'll need to put that on?
It can be council or staff. It needs to be a person. They'll be on our board for 2 years. There's a $50 per meeting stipend and a 75% requirement for attendance. The meetings will be held quarterly. There was a little bit of an issue. The airport board meets on Wednesday. I discussed this just briefly with Kendall late last night, but I know your meetings are Wednesdays. But we could designate the fourth Wednesday, if that wouldn't maybe interfere too often, as our airport board date. Quarterly is going to come around, not that often. So, but if we could, it's been customary Wednesday, everybody's used to that. If we could have that be the fourth Wednesday, that's probably a good idea.
You're aware, well, I know you're aware that that $50 stipend, the council doesn't go to the board member, it comes into the council.
However you folks treat that money is fine. We're going to pay you if you come. Okay. Everyone else gets it, so, okay?
If we get a seat on the board, are we expect to pay part of the cost of the airport?
You bet. That's
You're chopping us in, all right.
Whatever. It influences you. We want your input. We hope that as you see what's going on, maybe you'll... just for information purposes, we approved the airport board, the city council approved an application for a self-fueling with it's called the Warbirds or whatever. They have a flight school out there. We approved an application for them to be self-fueling rather than have to buy fuel from the existing FBO. But it came as a surprise to me, and we'll see. They've got to mature their application with some financial data, but that same entity also applied to be an FBO. I don't know how many of you.
Additional FBO or?
Let me explain it. FBO is fixed base operator. Under the guidelines of the FAA, any business entity that wants to do business at the airport, we can't even deny their application if it's an appropriate application. We don't want to. We want to see it competition and income to the airport to have it be self-sustained. It's now costing our city lots of money. So they have applied to be a second FBO. You can have more than one. They have to have acreage. We're looking at, I guess, around 8 acres or so as they move forward. But they're talking about the possibility of the restaurant, conference center, and all kinds of things, maybe even down the road a hotel as part of their FBO operation. And of course it will provide more competition, so that's not a bad thing.
As an FBO, they could also sell fuel to other pilots.
Oh yeah, they'll be able to do the same things the other one will, but depending on how it's structured, we got a lot of work to do before we approve it and designate the guidelines for them and the fees and everything else. But I just, so you know what's going on.
That's interesting.
We also had a presentation. We agreed to request from the Air Force. Apparently when they have planes that are out of service, they can be located at an airport. The one that Paul Boyer's hoping that he could get is one at Air Force Base. It's a jet that was fought in Vietnam or whatever and has been there, and it's wearing out, and they're soon going to surplus it. That would be dismantled and brought to Heber and put on maybe a pedestal at the entrance to the airport or something. A great big beautiful fighter jet. So we're trying to make the airport a welcome entity in our county instead of something people aren't happy about. So that's those reports. So.
Thank you.
So we'll be thinking about that maybe at your next meeting to appoint someone to that board.
We'll get that on an agenda so we can get an appointment made.
If you would. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Mr. Wood.